Greetings, I'm Michael O'Connor, along with Jim Smith, and welcome to The Well. Jim, this week we're going to talk about the topic of what is the purpose of life? I saved the easy questions for you, okay? But what we're going to be doing here is, you and I grew up in a time when there were thousands of books out there. A lot of ink has been spilled on, what is the meaning of life? And we were all searching for it. In the 60s and 70s, we're going to see, why are we here? What is the meaning of life? And it really, I think we make it more complex than it really should be. Over the years, I came to realize a simple answer to that question. And the purpose of life is really about love. And this is something that I want to share with you. I have a short clip from Robert Barron, Bishop Robert Barron, and Brandon Voigt, who's the host of Word on Fire. It'll give you some background about this topic of the meaning of life, the purpose of life, and all about love. And then we're going to come back after we listen to them, and you and I can kind of share what we take away from this. Would that be good?
Sure.
Okay.
I want to talk with you about how to become a person of love. When you ask people on the street, what's the purpose of life? Religious people, non-religious people, probably the most common answer you'll get is to be a good person. Mm-hmm. And you and I have quibbled with that answer. That's not necessarily the full purpose of life, but it does raise the question, how do you do that? How do you become a good person? What does it mean? Now, in answer to that, you've often quoted Dorothy Day, who once said that everything a baptized Christian does every day should be related to the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, when you were rector of Mundelein Seminary, you had posters made with that quote, and you hung them up all around the campus. What is Dorothy getting at here, and why are these corporal and spiritual works of mercy so important?
It's one of those quotes that was just illuminating from the moment I read it. Certain things you read and it just kind of takes your breath away and you say, yes, that just sheds light in every direction. I think the reason, Brandon, is it so concretizes what we mean when we say love. So, right, everyone wants to be a good person, everyone's devoted to love. Great. But what does that mean? It means to will the good of the other. And you say, okay, I get that, but that's still kind of abstract. What does it mean to will the good of the other? And her answer was, it means the corporal and spiritual works of mercy, these works of love, right? An outreach in love to those who are suffering in some way. Now we're talking concretely about the Christian life. I like how Pope Francis likes that word concrete, to make something real. Because we religious people, especially, we can sometimes lose ourselves in gassy abstractions. Okay, so I'm a person of love. Well, that looks like something. It looks like these very particular acts. And so it's a great way of anchoring your spiritual life and your moral life.
So during that video, you heard reference to the corporate works of mercy. Jim, we probably should go through those for those people who may not be familiar with what they are. So what are the 7 corporate works of mercy?
They're how we can help people, feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty, shelter the homeless, visit the sick, visit the prisoners, bury the dead, give alms to the poor.
So it's not just enough to feel love, but you really have to show love. And I liked what Bishop Barron said in his talk. He says, and he referenced Pope Francis. He likes things that are concrete. What can I do concretely to show love? And there's something that has to be exhibited. And these are 7 ideas that you can do. And so let's talk about what this might look like in your world. And as we go through them, think about your environment, your city, where you live, opportunities for you to do one of these 7 things. So feed the hungry. Jim, I know you've been involved in Food Pantry for a couple of years now in your community. What kind of things can people do to get involved to help feed the hungry?
When we're talking about a food pantry, you're going to find them splattered all over the world, where there are, I think we all know, there's people out there that are looking for food and help, whether it be they can't afford it or it's not available to them. So there's three different levels in my mind, really four. One is soliciting help. Here we have about 30 people that they get a lot out of helping these other people give out food. We give out food Wednesdays and Thursdays. So we got a lot of help there. Well, then you got to look at, where am I going to get the food, and what kind of food are we going to get? And do we have people that maybe can't get food but want to be participatory in it? So we have monetary donations as well, that we go out and we buy some of the fresher food and things like that we can't store. So those two are a big part. Obviously, having a support organization. There's a article every week that goes into our bulletin here at our church that you're marketing it, really, to say this is what we're doing and this is where your help has been doing and what kind of support we have. And of course, the last ones, which is the reason we're all doing it, is the people that are humble enough to come and receive food from you. Our priest here has turned it into, we used to keep track of names, and maybe only twice a month. He said, I don't want any of that. I don't care if they're from Kankakee, from our city of Bourbonnais. If they come and they want food, you can give it to them. Now, obviously, there has to be some controls with that, but he has been a total advocate. So I guess that would maybe be a fifth part of supporting this mission.
They say the Lord provides, and I never really saw that in action so much as we were getting very low in our food pantry with the food, and then there was a food drive in the community. And that next week, there was so much food that it had to be put in 3 different rooms, and that helped sustain it. But know that if there's a food drive in your community where they ask you to put a couple of cans of food out on your porch, please remember, it's one of the corporal works of mercy. It's a way to show love, not just to feel love. Okay, so that's very important. Give drink to the thirsty. Again, that can be part of any type of a food pantry, or if there's I know that there's some drives to actually build wells in areas where there is no water. We take for granted we can go to a faucet, turn it on, and immediately get as much water as we want. But there are some countries that they have to walk miles and miles to even get a drop of water. So if you ever run into a charity that maybe is asking for money to build wells in places where there is no water, that's a way to give drink to the thirsty. Shelter the homeless. There are different organizations that do this that you can support. All you have to do is kind of, keep your eyes and ears open. In the community that we're in, there's in the Chicagoland area, there's the Viator House that takes in people that are seeking asylum, and donating money to them helps them provide food for them and shelter for them, while they just don't take this free shelter, and they learn the language of the country. They learn skills, and the goal is to get them on their feet, and so they're ready to go to work as soon as they get there, legally become citizens of the United States. Visit the sick. Jim, you've done this before. Tell me about what that has meant to you.
It I actually have given up the leadership of the food pantry to someone else, and it's because I wanted to do more of this. We're seeing more and more people in our community, not just because of COVID, but I think worldwide, as our baby boomers age, they aren't getting out as much, and that doesn't mean to church. That means to see anyone. And I really feel strongly with some of these people to visit them and bring them to Eucharist for the Catholic Church. But probably a larger percentage of the time you're with them, you're just sitting and talking about something because they don't have people to talk to. I could tell you a story, but then it'd give away to the person that has. But someone that was very, very lonely and said, feels like there's a purpose in her life now with being involved in something and looks forward to it every week. So, to go in there and we usually do a reading, and talk about what the reading means. And, of course you gotta kind of know it before you go there if you want to be prepared, like any presentation. But it's a very gratifying mission to go into these people's homes that aren't getting away, to be able to. And sometimes maybe, I got asked to bring some palms this week, and I know you didn't want to get into dates, but they may want something that they can't get out and get, and so they're
Sure,
comfortable
helping
telling us.
them that way. And, visiting the sick doesn't have to be complex. It can just be showing up. You don't have to go there with a program, a presentation. You just sit down, be with them, and be company for them. And that's very close to the next corporate work of mercy, which is visit the prisoners. There are some programs where you can go and either become a pen pal to someone in prison or visit them. But if you can't, there are certain other kind of prisoners that are outside prison walls. And those are the people you mentioned, Jim, the people who are alone, that have no family, that really have no, just feel incredible loneliness. And that's another way to visit them, which is the same way as visiting prisoners. And then finally, we got give alms to the poor. And all you have to do is go to your mailbox and you can figure out how to do that, because there's always people asking for money. There's good organizations out there. I always like to check to see, is this money going to 90% marketing, or is it going to 90% to the end cause of what the money is to be used for? Care. It could be people who are in hospitals, or Feed America, Feed the World. There's all these types of ways to give alms to the poor. But I want to make understood that your money doesn't have to go, to a different continent. If it does, that's great. But there's people within 5 miles that need all of these. I think that's the thing we want to talk about. And there's also a lot of people who are younger, and well, of all ages really, but I really look at the people who are struggling in their teens or 20s, and they feel like totally isolated. They have a chip on their shoulder. Maybe they don't feel like they're being loved, and they feel like they're just in a bad place. And I wanted to say to them, if you want love, you got to give love. We talked about the ways that you can give love. But having said that, there is someone who will give you love anytime, any day you want. Someone who gives you undying love, and that's Jesus Christ. And how do I know that? I guess I can just pull this out here. All you have to do, anytime you're near a crucifix, take a good hard look and think about what this means in terms of love. The brutal sacrifice that this person made.
Good point.
To give you that love. And if he can do this, he's with you always. Don't ever forget that. You are never alone. So anyway, Jim, thank you for your comments. Thank you for all you do for your community. And I really appreciate your being here today.
Well, thank you for doing this, Michael. I heard him speak on this a while ago, and it's a pretty exciting mission, and it takes time. So thank you for having me.
Keep listening, keep praying, and God bless. Take care.